I read this story not too long ago of a coastal town that had a drawbridge. You know, there's several types of drawbridge, ones which kind of pivot in the middle,
Right.
and those which kind of raise, the whole deck would raise laterally or horizontally, I should say, moving forward, moving up in the air. And this particular point, the bridge was stuck, and it was stuck in the up position as if a boat had just gone through. And there was a gentleman who was running down the road, taking a white shirt off and waving in circles saying, the bridge is out, the bridge is out, the bridge is out. And because of his heroics, he no doubtly saved many people's lives, especially being at this particular point, there was a major fog overshadowing that particular bridge. That's happened here relatively recently as I was reading that. And David, that's what I want to do today with our listeners is wave that flag.
Yeah.
You know, one of the cautions as we see, and we've named this business, this particular podcast, don't quit working on your business. Now, the old adage says many people work in their business, but not on their business. That's what we hear over and over and over again.
And it's true.
So David, let's give the listeners a few tips.
Sure.
This particular point that we're advising our clients on how they can continue to work on their business. So what would be your first tip that you would give?
Well, I think first and foremost, you've got to take a step back. I mean, we have been at a pretty high pace since we were able to reopen, trying to regain some of the lost sales and things that we have all endured. Some businesses have been affected opposite of that. They have been extremely busy throughout the whole closure, like our business, Justin, as you know. But you know, for all of us, it's been a crazy time. One way or the other, it's been insane, and the pace has been very high, and we've been very concerned about our businesses, rightfully so. And we've been in our business working. Well, we're about 3 months into this thing now, out of the closures, and it's time to take a step back. Generally, in July and August, we do a mid-year review, and we take stock of where we are. And one of the things that we always advise our clients is to be smart. Well, what does that mean? Well, you need to be specific, measurable. You may need to make achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals. And we do that at the beginning of the year, right? We set forth some key objectives that we want to accomplish, and we try to use that principle of being smart, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals. So now it's time to revisit those.
So if we dissect this SMART acronym,
right?
I think it's acronym, right? Is it acrostic? I can't remember.
I think it's an acronym.
Acronym, yeah. Okay, sorry, friends. It has been a long year. I think I told somebody the other day I'm getting T-shirts made up that said I survived 2020. Seriously. But if we dissect this specific, so our goals need to be specific. You know, one of the things that I often see, David, is people say, "Yeah, I want to increase my business this year." Well, by what percentage rate? Is it a dollar figure? Are we talking about net income? Are we talking about EBITDA? What are we talking about increasing it? So we have to be specific. Measurable, though, is one that's interesting. How would you define a measurable goal?
Well, I mean, it has to have some sort of a performance indicator, right? So if I'm going to grow my business, by what percentage or by what amount? Same thing with profitability. If I want to grow the profitability of my business, it has to be a measurable goal, right? You have to be able to know that you actually reach the goal or what the number is that you need to reach. So generally it's a number.
Yeah, so the measurement could also be outside of sales or revenue. It could be a number of new clients. It could be a number of followers. Correct. It could be an impact saturation point. It could be a number of different things, but it is a measurement. It's a metric of some sort is what we're getting at.
That's right.
Now, I've always been curious. Why in the world would we put achievable? I mean, shouldn't goals be a stretch? Shouldn't goals be something like we're shooting for the moon? What's this idea behind having something achievable?
Sure. Well, I mean, you know, it's great to have a stretch goal. I mean, you want to stretch yourself. You want to set something that, you know, is going to take an extra effort to reach. But if you make it such a pie in the sky goal that it's never going to be achieved, then it actually is demotivating to you and to all your entire team. So even though it's a stretch, it's still got to be within reason where you can achieve the goal. And you know, sometimes they say you fit into the goal you make, and I get that. You don't want to make it too low. You want it to stretch, but it's got to be achievable. Yeah.
Relevance a given, but time bound. You know, David, if you had asked me, which you didn't, because you didn't know to ask this question, if you had asked me in January, hey, Justin, what are we going to deal with this year? There is no way in God's green earth I could have said a global pandemic, nor could I have said a $3.6 trillion spend come from the government, nor could would I've said that through all this, several businesses are going to have unbelievable banner years, unbelievable production years, as you and I have seen with several of our clients whom we have the honor and privilege to serve, that were positioned and they listened and they capitalized through this, and now they're rocking it out. I mean, amazing what they've been able to do. If we're talking about time bound, though, here in August, mid-year 2020, in the middle of COVID, perhaps COVID 2.0 coming about, what length of time would you put for this goal at this point?
Well, I mean, we're mid-year. Obviously, we set forth some goals at the beginning of the year, and we usually look out, 12 to 18 months. So I'm going to say that for the purpose of today's conversation, we need to be looking at the next 6 to 12 months. What's it going to take for us to finish strong this year, and what's going to put us in the best position to really, I think, capitalize on some great growth opportunities that are going to present themselves in 21.
Well, speaking of that, the second thing we looked at is we want to revisit what we began the year out with, and what do we start the year out to accomplish? So if kind of talk into that, you and I typically start off with strategic planning in the business world. For those clients who are just engaging us, we're going through assessments, we're doing valuations, metrics, things of that nature for businesses. But, for most people, we're starting the beginning of the year with, what do you want to accomplish this year? And so, hundreds of people that you and I have the honor and privilege to serve did that. And then COVID came in and swept the feet out from underneath us.
Right.
What do we do now? How do we modify it?
Well, let's go back. So let's go back to the beginning of the year. What did we decide that we wanted to accomplish this year? And let's take a look at those objectives. We usually choose about 3 objectives, big key objectives that we want to accomplish. Usually one is financial in nature. It could be sales, it could be profitability, it could be a new number of new clients, but it usually is a number that you're trying for, right? Well, we know based on our results, our financial reports in July and where we are in August, how we're doing towards that goal. It may still be very achievable. We may still be able to accomplish that. What we saw with the closure is, we had some clients that were completely shut down, right, for 6-8 weeks. But what it did was it created a tremendous backlog of clients for them, and they were actually able to have huge banner months in June, July, and August is actually doing pretty well too. So they may still be able to meet or beat their original financial goal, but the same thing with other goals. So let's say, for instance, that you're wanting to improve your operational goals, right? You've got goals that you use within the business to help your business be more streamlined and run better. Those are still things that are relevant in the business. Those are still things that need to be done. We're kind of getting back to what we would call a new normal. It's time to get refocused on doing that, because that's what's going to increase the value of the business.
Absolutely. I'm ready for a new normal, buddy. I'm ready for,
too.
Man, I think the whole country, if not the whole world, is sick and tired of this thing, but we're still dealing with it. But so as you're setting the objectives, I know one of the things you often practice and preach through the clients that you serve is coming up with specific tactics and actions. Right. Do you, at this point, I know you came up with 27 action items at the beginning of the year for our business owner clients. Right. At this particular point, do you go in and modify those? Do you change them? Do you try to reset the course? What do you do with all that work we did back in January and February at mid-year now?
Okay, so that's a lot there. I would say yes. No, that's fine. Modify, reset. So where are we now? What is still a stretch, but what's achievable? And then we need to modify. Obviously, we've lost a few months here, potentially. We're going to have to play some catch up. But what can we still accomplish, and how are we going to get it done? Who's going to do it? And when will it be done? So, it's the who, what, the when, and, the how, basically. We can still get a lot of these things done. We maybe have slid off our timeline a little bit. What's it going to take to get back onto that timeline and still meet our original goals that we set forth?
Well, I guess the question then that I'm running through my mind as you're talking is, let's make the assumption we had an action step that Fred or Sally was going to do for the business, and somehow that got delayed because of closure, because of whatever reason it got delayed. Do we totally wipe off all the action steps that we originally came up with, and create new ones effective today? Or do we just modify them? I mean,
Yeah.
how specific do we get?
So, I mean, our objectives are still the same, right?
Right.
The key objectives are still what we want to get accomplished. So we are behind on some of those things, but we just need to revisit them and challenge how we're going to get those things done. We may have to go about it a little bit different way, but it's still very relevant to the operation. So we may have to change a task. We may have to change an action step. But we still are trying to go after the same key objective that we set forth in the beginning. It may be modified, but we still have got to go after that key goal.
You know, one of the most amazing things that I see in the world of business is some business owners get it and some don't. They get this idea that, you know, if you go, in order to go fast, you go along, and in order to go far, you go together, as the old African proverb quotes.
Right.
And I hear business owners who are working in their business versus the ones we're talking to, I hope, that are working on their business. Those that are working in their business will often look to themselves as a DIY person. Right. And they'll position themselves saying, okay, let me get as much education as possible, and I'm going to go do it. I got to tell you, David, I get so tired even more of even doing things myself. Other than riding the tractor, I still love riding the tractor. It's like so therapeutic. But Emily and I, we got to paint something in our house. I don't even want to paint anymore. 5 years ago, I'd have grabbed the paintbrush and let's go. Now it's like, no way. One of the things that I'm often preaching, especially right now, is strongly consider hiring a coach now.
Right.
Perhaps you made it through the hardest time in your business ever. We just got off the phone with a client whose revenue is unbelievable, but because of the way the tax code works, his tax bill without some adjustments would be triple what it was last year. Triple. Think of that. Through COVID, he has 3 times, and we're not talking 20,000 taxes. We're talking 300,000 in taxes.
Yep, that's
Triple.
Exactly right.
So talk to me a little bit about this coaching thing. How does it work whenever somebody hires a coach? Why do we hire coaches? Just kind of talk around that for me from my mind.
Well, number one, you've talked in many podcasts about the 3-legged stool, right? You got to have your team of advisors around you that are going to advise you in business. One is the financial planner, obviously the other is the CPA, and then your lawyer. But typically and oftentimes, someone like myself or a coach, a business coach, can step in and help the people within the operation stay on track to make sure that everybody's held accountable to achieve that plan. So you set forth these goals, these objectives, and as you go through the year, it's just human nature that you're working very busy in the business, but they forget to work on the business. So coach can keep you on track, bring you back to the goals, and make sure that they're obtained, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to make the rubber, meet the road.
Absolutely. Well, friends, we just want to take a pause a minute today and say, we feel you. We are hearing you. We're talking with you every day. You say, well, Justin, we don't work with you. Trust us. You're just like any other business client that we work with. We hear you. We know the frustrations you're going through. We know the emotions. Let's not fall back into the rut. Let's not fall back into the rut of working in our business. We're not going to grow value by working in our business. We're not going to grow value if we become the epicenter of our business yet again. We want to continue to move ourselves from that center. And so I asked David, I said, man, would you just come and speak some truth, some life, some hope, some breath into a very tired business owner population? I'm hearing it from every area, from David, from people who were closed during the time period to those who were going nonstop during the time period. Everybody's just tired right now. So David, I appreciate you coming on the show and talking about these 4 points. Be smart, revisit your objectives, talk about your actions, and if need be, hire a coach. I love those 4 points you brought for us today. For those of you who are interested in saying, man, I need to work with somebody like David, check it out, financiallysimple.com. You go work with us, or Heritage Business Advisors even. That's where David works on a regular basis with clients nationally. Until next time, look, I realize life is hard. I get it. It's been a crazy year this year, an unbelievable year. Life is hard. I mean, we might not even have college football. Come on, people. This is ridiculous. We got to watch people bang each other in the head. It's American. So life is hard, but life is good. Life is unbelievable. We're greatly blessed people. We are. We're unbelievably blessed. Life can be frustrating. Money doesn't have to be. We're going to continue to make our lives at least financially simple. Hey, y'all go out and try to make it y'all go out and make it a great day.